These are the diary entries I translated that chronicle the experience of a 16-year-old girl and her family, an English governess and her mother, during the Leningrad siege. This diary was found in a Russian archive in the 1990s. Today is May 22nd, 1941. So, 2 tests out of the way, thank goodness. I decided to keep my diary neater. I know I myself will be curious one day. Goodness. Akka came into the room and I'm not in bed yet. You know you promised. You have to be in bed. Yes, I say, in a moment. Meanwhile, I keep writing. Akka left the room. In my diary, I want to write about all my worries, every single one of them, as Pechorin did. It's fascinating to read a diary like his. 30th of May. The weather is good. Despite it, my heart aches. It is Mother's birthday today, and we have nothing. Mom is at work, earning the little money she can. At least we're not starving, but it's not much fun. We're constantly living off other people's money. Mother keeps borrowing and borrowing. I'm ashamed to appear in front of the neighbors in our apartment. We owe all of them money. We've never lived like this before. Yesterday we took the algebra exam. Vova good, me excellent, Lucia satisfactory. Don't know about the others. I spent the whole evening on the 28th at Vovka's. Vova, Dima and I were solving equations, but mostly we were chatting. Vovka has a lot of wit. We get on better than we did in winter now. He always says hello to me as if I were his buddy, and I find it very pleasant. Anyway, the more often we spend time together at his house, the less I think about my love for him. But if I don't see him for a long time, I begin to love him again. We wanted to visit him someday this summer, but we changed our minds. It's unnecessary. Better not to see him for the whole summer. Then when we meet again in autumn, I'll greet him like I would an old friend and feel even closer. I'll have to make sure to ask him to take a portrait picture before we part for the summer. And to ask him to take another one as soon as we meet in autumn. It will be interesting for both of us to see how he changes over a whole summer. 22nd of June 1941. At 12:15, the whole country heard Comrade Molotov's speech. He announced that today, at 4 o'clock in the morning, without a formal declaration of war, the German army began its attack across the length of the western border. Its planes bombed Kiev, Zhytomyr, Odessa, Kaunas, and other towns. 200 people were killed. At 5 o'clock, the German consul declared war on behalf of his government. Well then, the worst of all things that could have happened has happened. We shall come out victorious, but this victory won't be an easy one. This isn't Finland after all. This war is going to be merciless and fierce. In this war, chemicals haven't been used yet. However, there's no doubt about it when they are to attack us. It's 11:30 in the evening and no news bulletin has been aired yet. The radio is playing war songs, poetry and announcements declaring a state of war and mobilization. Planes are flying, circling above the sky, and although we know that Soviet pilots are at the wheel, the effect is still alarming. The motors of enemy bomber planes will roar in the same way. This is terrible. Won't there be a news bulletin? Had there even been the slightest victory on our side, we would have had some news about it, but it's likely that there hasn't been a victory yet. Yes, well, battles must be going on along the whole front now. Those who return home from the outside are saying that the mobilized are on the march in the streets, singing. Their wives, children and girlfriends are seeing them off. Victories on our side, comrades. At 2 o'clock in the morning I was woken up by the plaintive howl of a siren. Mom and I got dressed hurriedly, went to the kitchen, where it was very quiet. No planes could be heard. Then we began to hear dull, distant bangs. We huddled together and thought, bombs, but we couldn't hear any planes. The noise of the bangs came a little closer then. It stayed at that constant distance. It's our anti-aircraft guns. We listened closer. The anti-aircraft guns were firing furiously. The siren began to howl in the courtyard, and the cannonade of anti-aircraft guns wouldn't cease while clouds floated indifferently across the white sky and the stars shined through the openings between the clouds. It was terrifying. Half an hour later, an all clear was given. Mother and I went to bed without getting undressed and fell asleep. 24th of June. We slept calmly on the night of the 24th. During the day, I went walking through the city. A silvery aerostat, resembling a fish lying on its side, stretched along the whole length of the round garden next to Chermishov Bridge. It was being held down with ropes. There was a big pile of cylinders with gas next to it. Deep trenches are being dug hastily in the gardens in Ostrovsky Square and in those around the Palace of Pioneers. They are the depth of an average person's height and 1 meter wide. Many of those digging are from the intelligentsia. Almost every courtyard has piles of building materials in it for the construction of gas-proof shelters. Sand has been brought to many yards too. Today someone from the school called to say that I should be there at 5 o'clock sharp. At 5 o'clock I was in the blue room at school. 60 people came. The majority were girls. The headmaster briefly told us that our efforts would be necessary. We split up into brigades, 2 boys' brigades and 5 girls' brigades. All of us from my class ended up in the same brigade. Maya is our brigadier. We're going to fulfill all the tasks the headquarters gives us. I'm going to bed now. Who knows what kind of a night it will be. 16th of November. Another air raid warning. As soon as it gets to 8:30 in the evening, welcome, here come the Germans. The day passed in some wretched way today. Aka went to look for something to eat at 9 in the morning, only to come home at 5 o'clock. Mom and I had already made peace with the thought that Aka didn't manage to find anything, that we won't be having lunch at all, when unexpectedly Aka came back with meat jelly instead of being empty-handed. She brought 500 grams of meat jelly. We made soup promptly and ate 2 full plates of hot soup each. The way we live now is still bearable, but if the situation gets worse, I don't know how we'll survive it. When the war ends, things balance themselves out, and there's food to buy once again. I'll buy brown bread, a kilo of gingerbread, and half a liter of cottonseed oil. I'll mix bread and gingerbread crumbs together, pour a lot of oil over them, carefully mix it into a smooth paste, take a spoon and enjoy it until I'm utterly full. Then Mother and I will bake different pies with meat, potatoes, cabbage and grated carrots. And when Mother and I will make golden brown fried potatoes and eat them straight from the fire. We'll eat mushroom dumplings with sour cream, pelmeni, pasta with tomato sauce and fried onions too, and hot crusty white bread with butter and salami cheese. The slice of salami has to be thick enough to sink your teeth into it when you take a bite. Tamara and I decided to write a book about the lives of Soviet children in 9th and 10th grades, about fleeting interests, about first love and friendship. All in all, to write a book we ourselves would like to read and which alas doesn't exist yet. All clear. The air raid warning is all clear. It's 9:15 now. Time to go to bed. There's school tomorrow. 5th of March 1942. Women's Day is coming soon. The weather is sunny and frosty all the time. Bread rations haven't been made bigger yet. When I think about everything that I've already been through, I feel both afraid and joyful. The worst is behind. I went through it, and I'm the only one out of the 3 of us who survived. Had there been a delay of another fortnight in the improvements in food supply, I would have followed Aka and Mother to 76 Marat Street, an address full of menace. How many thousands of people from Leningrad learned about it? I stayed alive, and I wanted to live. To do this, I shouldn't stay here. I have to find my way to Zhenya's in Gorky. Yesterday, my neighbor Raisa Pavlovna gave me a card, as well as various letters, which have been brought from the Zhacht, where they've been lying around. I don't know how this card made its way to the Zhacht. It turned out to be from Zhenya, sent on the 19th of January. Zhenya writes that she's very worried about not having received answers to any of the number of letters she has sent us. The address is Gorky, Mogilevich Lane, and I've foolishly been writing to a completely different older address. That's the reason why there was no reply to my telegram. My new plan of action is to send Zhenya a new telegram and then to try to make my way to Gorky. In order to do this, I'll visit Kira and Galya. If I stay here, it will be very difficult. It's very hard for me to work right now. I'm very weak. Yet, if I remain an unemployed dependent, I'll be forced to do labor service. Spring will come, it will get warmer, the sewers will thaw, and there'll be a lot of work. They might also send us to the cemetery to bury bodies and end up killing us too. No, I have to make it to Zhenya's. Zhenya writes that they live tolerably well, even well for our times. There, I would fatten up a little, gain some strength and find a job, to work and live either with Zhenya or with Nura. We're close. They're my relatives, they love me, and they won't tell me to leave, of course. No, I have to go. I'll write them a telegram. I'm alone now. Akka and Mother died. Can I stay with you? Answer soon. Thank you.